I never imagined that the boy I raised with love and sacrifice would one day turn me away from my own home. After my husband passed, my son and his wife promised to take care of me. But when money, greed, and pride entered their hearts, they forgot who built their world. The day they kicked me out, I had nothing. No roof, no food, no family. Yet life has its own justice. Karma never forgets. What happened next is a story they'll remember for the rest of their lives. After my husband, David, passed away, I moved in with my only son, Ethan, and his wife Sarah. At first, things were fine. They gave me a room, shared dinners, and treated me with respect. But slowly, I began to feel like an intruder in my own family. Sarah started sighing whenever I entered the kitchen, and Ethan began spending less time with me. One evening, Sarah complained, "Your mother doesn't help around the house. She just sits and watches TV." I heard her clearly from the next room. My heart sank. I had arthritis. My body couldn't do what it once did. But instead of defending me, Ethan stayed silent. Days turned into weeks, and my presence became unwanted. Sarah started forgetting to cook my meals. My room was moved to the basement. One rainy night, as thunder roared outside, Ethan came to me with cold eyes. "Mom," he said, "it's time you find another place to live. We need our space." I looked at him in disbelief. "Ethan, I have nowhere else to go." He shrugged. "Maybe one of your church friends can help. We can't do this anymore." That night, I packed what little I had, a few clothes, my husband's photo, and the wedding ring he gave me. As I stepped outside, soaked in rain, I realized my own blood had abandoned me. But I whispered to myself, God sees everything. I spent the next few nights at a women's shelter. It was humiliating, but the volunteers were kind. One woman named Carol helped me find small work, folding clothes at a thrift shop. My hands hurt, but it kept me alive. Months passed, and I saved every penny I could. One day, while working, a customer dropped her wallet. I returned it immediately. She smiled warmly and said, "You remind me of my late mother." That woman, named Margaret, turned out to be a business owner. When she heard my story, she offered me a part-time job at her cafe. Working there gave me purpose again. I started greeting customers, managing supplies, and helping with recipes. The cafe grew popular because of my kindness and homemade pies. Margaret trusted me completely. She even made me her business partner within a year. Meanwhile, Ethan and Sarah's lives were falling apart. Ethan's company faced financial problems, and Sarah's expensive habits made it worse. They lost their car and had to mortgage their home. I heard about it from an old neighbor who visited the cafe. She said, "Your son is struggling badly." I just nodded and whispered, "Sometimes, lessons come the hard way." A few months later, fate decided to bring our paths together again. One afternoon, I was working behind the cafe counter when I saw them walk in, Ethan and Sarah. They looked exhausted, worn out, and desperate. Ethan didn't recognize me immediately. I had a clean uniform, confident smile, and peace in my eyes. "Mom," he whispered, his voice trembling. I looked up calmly. "Hello, Ethan." "Sarah." Sarah couldn't meet my gaze. "We didn't know you worked here." I smiled faintly. People change when life teaches them lessons. They sat silently as I served them coffee. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "Mom, we lost everything. I was so proud. I thought I didn't need anyone, not even you." I placed my hand on the table. "You didn't lose everything, Ethan. You lost gratitude." He lowered his head. "We're sorry. Truly sorry." I nodded. "Forgiveness isn't words, Ethan. It's change." When they left, Margaret came over and said, "You handled that beautifully." I smiled and said, "Sometimes, the best revenge is peace." Weeks later, Ethan came back, not to beg, but to help. He asked if he could volunteer at the cafe, to rebuild trust. I agreed. Slowly, he became humble, quiet, and respectful again. Sarah joined to baking pastries and cleaning tables. The customers loved their story. The son who betrayed his mother, now learning from her. Eventually, Margaret retired and handed full ownership of the cafe to me. I renamed it Grace and Second Chances. On opening day, Ethan hugged me tightly. "Mom, I don't deserve your forgiveness," I replied softly. "You earned it by learning humility." The cafe flourished, and people came from all over to hear our story. My son and his wife became my biggest helpers, no longer driven by greed, but by love and repentance. Karma had indeed worked. not to destroy them, but to rebuild them sometimes. Life doesn't punish, it teaches. I lost everything once, but that pain turned into strength. My son learned that love and respect are worth more than money, and I learned that forgiveness is the real victory. In the end, karma didn't destroy us, it healed us. Because when a heart finally realizes its mistakes, that's when true peace begins.